I had noticed little things about my wife, Emily, that didn't sit right with me. Sometimes she would get a text late at night and quickly hide her phone when I walked in. It made my stomach twist, but I didn't say anything. I wanted to trust her. During a family dinner, I thought it would just be fun and normal. But then everything changed. Everyone was laughing, but I could feel something heavy in the air. Suddenly, Emily's mom said something that made my heart drop. She talked about late-night phone calls, and my world came crashing down. I felt betrayed and confused. How could I ever trust her again after hearing that? It was like someone ripped apart the trust we built, and I didn't know how to put it back together. Why do I always feel excitement and fear before family dinners? It's like a roller coaster ride, and I can't get off. Our family has always had quirks, with tension hiding beneath the surface. I keep thinking, what secrets are we all keeping? I try to focus on the good times as the table gets set and the food is laid out, but a heavy cloud is hanging over us when we finally sit down. Everyone laughs, but it sounds forced, like they're playing a part in a bad movie. I want to connect to share some fun stories, but that nagging worry creeps back in. I steal a glance at Emily, my wife. Her smile shines bright, but I can't shake the feeling that it's hiding something. Is she keeping secrets? My heart races as I remember how quickly dinner can turn into chaos. With every tick of the clock, the tension grows. Conversations skim the surface, dodging real issues like they're landmines. I crave real connection, but fear and doubt steal that away. I can't help but wonder if this dinner will end in laughter or tears, knowing the truth often hides in shadowy corners. Suddenly, Uncle Joe raises his glass. To family! His cheer feels hollow. But let's not talk about old grudges, right? He winks, but his eyes dart to Aunt Lisa, who looks like she's about to explode. Why avoid the truth? Aunt Lisa snaps. We can't pretend everything's fine. The room freezes, and I hold my breath. Emily shoots me a worried glance. Can we just enjoy the meal? She whispers, but her voice trembles. Enjoy the meal, I snap back. Can we enjoy being real for once? The tension snaps like a rubber band. Maybe some of us have things to hide. Uncle Joe huffs, his face turning red. I can feel the air thickening. I want to scream, what are we hiding? But I know better. Instead, I watch the laughter fade, replaced by a heavy silence. I watched Emily closely, and something felt off. Every day, it was like a thick fog settled between us. She was acting secretive, spending hours on her phone and giggling at messages I couldn't see. It hurt. I felt like a stranger in my own home, and trust was slipping away like sand through my fingers. We used to talk about everything, but now our conversations were awkward. Words stuck in our throats like stones. I could feel the distance growing, like a dark cloud hanging over us. Our laughter faded, replaced by silence that felt heavy. Late at night, Emily would sneak off to her phone, laughing softly while I sat alone in the dark, my heart sinking further. I needed to know what was going on. Each day, the weight of worry grew heavier. Was I losing her? I wanted to ask her why she was acting this way, but fear held me back. What if my questions made things worse? I felt trapped in a nightmare, terrified of the truth. Emily had changed, and I couldn't tell if our love was real or just a memory slipping away. One night, I confronted her. Emily, what's going on? You're always on your phone, and I feel left out. My voice trembled as I spoke. She looked up, surprise flashing in her eyes. It's just messages from friends, she said quickly, but her tone felt off. Friends? Or someone else? I pressed, my heart racing. She shot me a glare, her smile vanishing. Why don't you trust me? Because you're hiding something, I shouted, frustration boiling over. The silence that followed was deafening. Our eyes locked, and I could see the anger and sadness swirling in hers. This was it. The moment everything changed. Maybe you're right, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Maybe I'm hiding things, but it's not what you think. The silence after our argument was thick and heavy, almost like a fog that wouldn't lift. I looked at Emily, searching her face for any hint of truth, but all I saw were the scars of past lies. My heart raced. Could I trust her? Each second felt like a countdown, revealing hidden secrets that made my stomach churn. It felt like everything between us had changed forever. We couldn't talk like we used to, and I realized honesty was the only way to fix what was broken. I felt stuck in a loop of guessing and doubting. Was she really being honest this time? Or was it just another trick? The strength I thought I'd was fading as I thought about what our future might look like. In that heavy silence, I knew I'd a choice. I could let these doubts eat me alive or face them head on. No matter what, I realized the road ahead would be tough. It would challenge not just our love, but who we were as people. Suddenly, I broke the silence. Emily, I need to know the truth. Can I trust you? Her eyes widened. You think I've lied to you before? I'm not that person anymore. How can I believe that? I shot back, frustration bubbling inside me. Every time I try, I just remember the hurt. She stepped closer, her voice urgent. I'm trying to change, but if you keep doubting me, how can we move forward? I felt torn. Her words tugged at my heart, but the past loomed over us like a dark cloud. The tension crackled between us. It was time to decide. Fight for our love or let it slip away. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, Linda knocked on our door, her face serious and determined. I could tell she was worried, ready to protect Emily. It hit me hard that she probably sensed the trouble brewing between us. "Where's Emily?" she demanded, her voice calm but tight. I hesitated, torn. Should I tell her the truth? Part of me wanted to keep her safe from the hurt, but I also needed someone to back me up. I needed help to deal with the mess. Linda's eyes scanned the room, picking up on the tension like a hawk. "What's going on?" she pressed, narrowing her gaze. I felt like I was on display, my secrets laid bare. Finally, I spilled my fears about Emily's late-night texting and how her sneaky behavior had made me doubt everything. Linda listened closely, her face softening with understanding. She spoke quietly about Emily's struggles, hinting that her daughter had been lost for a long time. Anger bubbled inside me. How could she let this happen? The dinner table looked nice, but a heavy silence filled the room. I could see Emily's smile was gone, replaced by worry. It felt like a thick cloud was hanging over us. Linda, her mom, sat across from us with a blank face. I knew there were words just waiting to burst out. Emily tried to make small talk about the food, but her voice was shaky. I barely nodded, my heart pounding. Linda had asked a question that cut through our pretend smiles, and I could see the panic in Emily's eyes. I wanted to shout, to demand to know what was really going on, but I kept quiet, scared of what I might hear. As we ate, I noticed Linda's gaze darting between us. I imagined she could feel the tension building. I felt lost, trapped between two people I cared about, yet who seemed miles apart. The air was thick, and the clock ticked loudly, each second making my stomach twist tighter. What was meant to be a nice dinner turned into a fight without words, showing cracks in our relationships that I couldn't ignore. I needed answers, but I just sat there, stuck in confusion. "Emily, what's wrong?" I finally blurted out, breaking the silence. Her eyes widened, and she looked at her mom, then back at me. "Nothing's wrong," she shot back too quickly, her voice rising. "You're lying!" I exclaimed, frustration spilling out. Linda leaned in, her voice cold. Maybe it's time for the truth to come out. Why did Linda's words hurt so much? In that moment, everything I thought I knew about my marriage fell apart. Family loyalty was everything to me, but here was Emily's mother throwing accusations like sharp knives. I froze, unable to grasp what she was saying. Did she really think Emily was cheating? I turned to Emily, hoping for some comfort, but all I saw was fear. The dinner table, once filled with laughter, felt like a trial. My heart raced as I tried to keep calm. I needed honesty, but how could I get that when the truth seemed hidden behind Emily's shaky smile? The silence after Linda's question was like a heavy weight in the air. I felt trapped in a mess of confusion. I wanted to trust Emily, but every distance she put between us made that harder. Linda's question cracked open our family's facade, and I couldn't ignore it. I was desperate for answers. Why was I questioning everything? That one question shook me to my core. It forced me to face my fears. I'd to find out if our love was real or just an act. The idea of betrayal twisted in my stomach. I felt lost, craving the truth, no matter how much it might hurt. "Emily, is there something you need to tell me?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She hesitated, her eyes darting away. "Mom is just worried," she replied, but her voice lacked confidence. "Is she right? Are you hiding something?" I pressed, feeling the tension rise. "No, I love you," she exclaimed, but her words felt empty. The room fell silent again. I stood there, heart pounding, staring at Emily, her face twisted in shock, and I could hardly believe she looked so lost. "How could you?" I demanded, feeling the weight of betrayal choke me. "Please, just let me explain," she pleaded, her eyes darting away from mine. I could see her walls falling down, but I wasn't ready to hear her words. "Did you really think I wouldn't find out?" I shot back, my voice shaking. Her silence was heavy, louder than any excuse she could make. I thought I knew her, but now I felt like I was staring at a stranger. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I love you," she cried, but her voice wobbled, cracking under the weight of her lies. I felt a surge of anger and sadness. This wasn't the woman I loved. She'd spun a web of deceit, and our trust felt like glass, shattered at my feet. Emily's cries filled the room, and I could feel the weight of her desperation. She made it seem like I was the bad guy, twisting my thoughts until they were all jumbled. I wanted to trust her, but my heart was heavy with doubt. Her words were like sticky webs, trapping me in confusion. I pushed back, trying to stay strong against her tricks. I noticed how she'd tear up and shake her hands just to pull me off track. Every time I asked her what was really going on, she'd tell a story that made me feel guilty. It was draining, and I felt like I was losing my grip on what was real. Emily's laughter, once sweet, now felt like a stab in the back. I felt betrayed and lost. Every time I saw her, she looked like a stranger. I couldn't trust the woman I loved anymore. Late-night texts and sneaky phone calls haunted me like shadows. I turned into a detective in my own life, piecing together clues that just led to more heartbreak. I needed answers, but finding the truth felt impossible, like hunting for a needle in a giant haystack. As each day passed, the weight on my chest grew heavier. I replayed the moment when her mother spilled everything at dinner. I wanted to confront Emily, to demand answers, but every time I tried to speak, fear gripped me. What if I was wrong? What if the truth broke everything we had? I needed to uncover her secrets, to figure out the hidden loyalties twisting our love into something dark. I couldn't live in this fog anymore. The truth was the only weapon I'd left. "Emily, we need to talk," I blurted out one evening, my heart racing. She looked up, surprise flashing in her eyes. "What about?" "About your mom, about the dinner. I need to know what's going on," I demanded, frustration bubbling up. Her smile faded, replaced by a cloud of worry. "I told you, it's complicated." "Complicated? Or are you just hiding something from me?" I shot back, my voice raising. Silence stretched between us, heavy and thick. I felt the tension crackling in the air. This was it. I'd to push through the fear. "Just tell me the truth, Emily," I said, my voice softer but firm. "I can't keep living like this." She hesitated, her eyes darting away. I don't want to hurt you." "But you are," I replied, my heart pounding. "Just be honest with me." The moment I finally decided to confront Emily about the betrayal, my heart raced. I couldn't ignore the nagging doubt any longer. I'd to face the truth. As I walked toward her, anger mixed with heartbreak bubbled inside me. I needed answers about the betrayal that had broken my trust. Who is Jake? I shot the question at her, feeling the weight of my words. Emily's face went pale, and I could see the tears weren't real. I wouldn't let her manipulate me. I was done being fooled. I knew rebuilding trust would be hard. I'd to figure out how to heal, not just for me, but for whatever was left of us. I felt strong, ready to face the truth. I wanted closure, not just for myself, but for our relationship too. We had to change everything. It hurt to realize that love could turn toxic, but I'd to accept it. Figuring out why she betrayed me wouldn't be easy, but it was necessary. As I looked into her eyes, I knew this talk would change everything, for better or worse. I glanced at my phone again. Jake's message stared back at me. "Can't wait to see you again. Just one more night, and we'll be together." My heart raced. A wave of confusion hit me hard. How could Emily do this? I thought we'd something real, built on trust. But now, doubt flooded my mind. I marched up to Emily. "What's going on with Jake?" I demanded. Her eyes widened, fear written all over her face. It was like she froze, caught off guard. Anger bubbled inside me. I felt betrayed, my trust shattered in an instant. I'd seen the signs, late-night texts, secret calls. I'd pushed them aside, hoping they meant nothing. But now, the truth was clear. The more I thought, the angrier I got. It wasn't just Jake's words that stung, it was the fact that Emily chose to lie to me. Our love was now full of cracks. I couldn't believe I'd missed it all. I took a deep breath, fighting the storm of emotions swirling inside me. I'd a choice to make. I could stay in this pain or find a way to reclaim my life. I deserve better than this, I whispered to myself. I wanted to break free from the lies. The road ahead looked tough, but I'd to take that first step. "Emily, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady. She looked down, avoiding my gaze. "You need to be honest with me. No more secrets." I could see the tension in her shoulders, but I wasn't backing down. It was time for the truth. As I stood there, staring at Emily, a wave of cold anger washed over me. Betrayal hit me hard, and my heart felt heavy. I never thought I'd hear her mother's words that night. They shattered everything I believed in. I thought our love was strong, built on trust. Now, it felt like broken glass at my feet. "Why would you lie to me, Emily?" I shouted, my voice shaking. She looked down, guilt written all over her face. "I didn't mean to. I thought—" "Thought what?" "That I wouldn't find out?" I interrupted, my frustration bubbling over. Every moment we shared felt like a cruel trick. I thought we'd a future, but now it felt like a nightmare. "I love you," she pleaded, tears in her eyes. "Do you?" "Because your lies say otherwise," I snapped, my heart racing. The pain cut deep, and I knew I'd to face the truth. It was time to confront the reality of our broken love. I took a step back, feeling lost. "How can I trust you again? You made everything feel fake." "I'll make it right," she promised, reaching for me, but I pulled away. "You've already broken me. How can I believe anything you say?" I needed to find my strength. I'd to pick up the pieces of my heart, but the thought of it felt overwhelming. The journey ahead was scary, but I owed it to myself to try, no matter how hard it would be to let go of the woman I once loved. "Maybe we need some time apart," I said, my voice steady. Despite the storm inside me, Emily's face fell, and I felt a pang of regret. But I'd to protect myself. I'd to heal. As I thought about our family, I realized Linda was always the one holding us together. She loved to talk, helping everyone feel safe to share their feelings. But now, everything was falling apart. The air felt thick with tension, and I could almost taste the fear of what was coming next. I wanted to believe we could fix this, but deep down, I worried it was too late. "Why did you let this happen, Linda?" I asked, my voice shaking. Her eyes darted away, guilt washing over her face. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Betrayal gnawed at me. It stung like a bee, and I couldn't shake it off. "You should have said something," I shot back, frustration boiling over. "Trust me," she said, her voice growing desperate. I thought I could handle it, but she hadn't. Greed and manipulation had slithered into our lives, twisting everything we knew. It was like a dark cloud hanging over us, ready to burst. "I just wanted to protect us," she said, tears brimming in her eyes. "Protect us, or protect yourself?" I snapped, feeling the hurt turn to anger. Linda looked down, her silence screaming louder than words. I felt my heart break a little more, realizing how toxic love could be. What had once been a safe haven now felt like a battlefield. "Can we fix this?" I asked, my voice softer but still full of doubt. "I hope so," she replied, but I could see the fear in her eyes. The anger bubbled inside me like a volcano ready to erupt. I couldn't ignore it anymore. Emily and Jake had betrayed me, and it hurt like nothing else. Their laughter rang in my ears, a cruel reminder of what I'd lost. I wanted revenge. I wanted Emily to feel what I felt, to know the heartache she caused. "What should I do?" I whispered to myself, pacing back and forth. The ideas flooded my mind. Should I tell everyone about them? Make her regret every single second she spent with him? My fists clenched as the anger surged. I could almost see her face when she realized what I did, tears streaming down her cheeks, regret shining in her eyes. It felt like the perfect plan. But then, a small voice in my head whispered, "Will this really fix anything?" I stopped, feeling trapped. Revenge could give me a moment of satisfaction, but would it heal my heart? I knew I'd to break free from this cycle. I'd to confront my feelings, not just act on them. Suddenly, I picked up my phone and texted Emily. "We need to talk. Now." I knew it was time to face her. I couldn't drag her down with me. I'd to reclaim my life, not ruin hers. This was my chance to take control, to find a way out of this mess, without becoming someone I didn't want to be. I took a deep breath, ready to face Emily. My heart raced with a mix of fear and anger. What had happened between us was a mess, tangled up in lies and hurt. "Why didn't you just tell me?" I shot at her, my voice shaking. It was hard to ignore the silence that brought us here. Emily stood frozen, tears welling in her eyes. Did she even get how much pain she caused? Facing her felt like walking into a storm. I needed to let out my hurt, but I also wanted to fix things. How could I move on when betrayal hung over us like a dark cloud? I knew this wasn't going to be easy. I'd to find the strength to face the truth, no matter how much it hurt. As we talked, I saw her struggle with regret. Part of me wanted to believe we could forgive each other, but doubt crept in. Could we actually sort this out without tearing each other apart? I couldn't believe my eyes when I found the messages on Emily's phone. My heart raced, and a cold feeling crept into my gut. They were from a guy named Jake. The words were clear. She was cheating on me. Anger boiled inside me. How could she do this? I'd trusted her completely. I knew I'd to get proof. I quickly searched through her phone, my hands shaking. Each text I found felt like a punch in the stomach. She was sharing love with someone else, and it hurt like crazy. I wanted to confront her right away, but I needed more evidence first. The pain hit me hard. I couldn't think straight. I kept replaying our happy times together, but now they felt tainted. I was furious, wanting to scream and make her feel my hurt. But I took a deep breath. I'd to stay calm. I gathered the messages and prepared to confront her. When I finally showed her the texts, I could see the shock on her face. "How could you do this to me?" I demanded, my voice steady but filled with pain. Trust was shattered, and everything felt broken. I was left questioning everything we'd built together. Emily's betrayal changed everything, and I knew we could never go back. The air crackled with tension as Emily and I faced off. Each word we exchanged felt like a sharp jab in our fight for control. "You lied to me," I yelled, anger pouring out like a storm. I wanted her to feel the sting of betrayal, to see how deeply she'd hurt me. Her eyes widened, and I caught a glimpse of her fear. "I didn't mean to hurt you." Emily's voice shook, but it sounded empty. I was drowning in disbelief and rage, and every denial she threw my way only pushed us further apart. "Who is Jake?" I demanded, my heart racing. I could see the panic on her face. She was losing this battle, and I could taste the power shifting toward me. It felt good, but I didn't want to be the one tearing us apart. I just needed to feel whole again. In that moment, everything fell into place. This wasn't just about cheating, it was about trust broken and love twisted beyond recognition. Regret hit me hard, like a giant wave crashing down. I felt my anger fade away as I sat there, listening to Emily cry and confess. Memories flooded my mind, happy times filled with laughter and trust. It was shocking how fast everything fell apart because of her lies. I used to see her as my partner, but now she felt like a total stranger. Her eyes sparkled with tears, and I wondered if she even understood the hurt she caused. "I was scared," she said, her voice shaky. "I didn't want to hurt you." But those words felt empty, like they echoed in a big empty room. I wanted to trust her, but doubt gnawed at me. Each confession felt like a knife digging in deeper, cutting through the love I thought we had. I remembered our happy moments, but now they felt ruined. Every word she spoke made our trust crumble. I struggled to breathe as desperation wrapped around my throat. Looking at her, I could see her regret weighing her down. I didn't want to be the one to decide what happened next, but I knew I'd to. Tears streamed down her face, and my heart ached for the woman I once loved, but I couldn't forget the betrayal hanging over us like a dark storm. I realized I stood at a crossroads, unsure of which way to go. "Do you even care about what you've done?" I asked, my voice low but firm. "I do. I didn't know how to tell you," she pleaded. "Then why didn't you just be honest?" I shot back, my frustration boiling. Her silence spoke volumes, and I felt the weight of her lies pressing down on us. I took a deep breath, ready to make a choice. The path ahead was foggy, but I'd to decide if I could ever trust her again. Lies wrapped around our relationship like a thick fog, hiding the truth and choking any chance of clear communication. Every secret text and whispered word made our love feel toxic, turning it into something that hurt instead of healed. I wanted Emily to be honest with me, but all I got were shadows and half-truths. The weight of her lies was crushing, pulling me deeper into sadness. Every time I thought I saw a glimpse of the truth, the lies dragged me back down. Emily's laughter sounded fake, like she was wearing a mask. I used to trust her completely, but now doubt crept into every part of my heart. I replayed our moments, together hunting for clues I might have missed. That family dinner changed everything. Linda suddenly asked a question that cut through the silence like a knife. The tension in the air grew thick. I could feel my heart racing. Emily's eyes were wide with panic, and in that moment I knew the betrayal I feared was real. Lies build walls between us and the people we love. They destroy trust and leave us lost in confusion. I knew I needed honesty in our relationship. Without it, we were just stumbling around in the dark, unable to find the light. The poison of lies was strong, but I'd to face it. I needed to fight for my happiness. "Tell me the truth, Emily," I shouted, my voice echoing through the room. She hesitated, her eyes darting away. I didn't mean for it to happen." "Didn't mean for what?" I pressed, anger bubbling inside me. "I lied about seeing someone else," she whispered, her voice trembling. My heart sank. It felt like the ground had fallen away beneath me. "How could you do this?" "I was scared," she said, tears welling up. "I didn't want to lose you." My heart felt heavy when I found out Emily had betrayed me. I couldn't let her lies ruin my life. I'd to take charge. First, I focused on myself. I started working out. It made me feel better and cleared my head. I knew I'd to be strong. I faced my feelings instead of hiding from them. I talked to my friends and shared everything. They lifted me up. I wasn't alone in this mess. I began writing in a journal, letting my thoughts spill out. Writing helped me think clearly. Every day I told myself I was worth it. I wouldn't let Emily's choices make me feel small. I focused on what I could change, my happiness, my dreams, and my life. I set new goals, like traveling and trying out. Hobbies I always wanted to do. Taking small steps boosted my confidence. I started to enjoy being by myself. I discovered who I really was without Emily dragging me down. It felt strong and freeing. As I found my strength, I knew healing from betrayal was a solo mission. It wasn't just about moving past the hurt. I'd to build my emotional armor. I faced the pain directly and searched for ways to heal. First, I set strong boundaries. I kicked out all reminders of Emily from my space. My room needed to be a safe zone for me to think. I started journaling, pouring my thoughts onto the pages. It felt freeing to let my feelings flow without holding back. Writing turned my messy thoughts into clear ideas. Next, I reached out to my friends. "I need your help," I told them one night. Sharing my story felt like lifting a huge weight. "You're not alone," one friend said, and it was comforting. I realized that being open about my struggles wasn't weak, it was brave. I also threw myself into exercise. Running became my escape. Each footfall pounded away the tension, each breath pushed the pain a little further away. It was me against the world, and I was winning. Through the chaos, I found moments to be thankful. Betrayal taught me who I really was and what I wanted. "I have the power to change my story," I declared to myself. The road ahead looked tough, but I was ready. I could heal, and I would. I was drowning in a storm of emotions after Emily's betrayal. Anger and sadness crashed over me like waves. I felt trapped, unable to escape the chaos swirling in my heart. I wanted to trust her, but the truth loomed like a dark cloud. My mind spiraled with images of her with someone else, and distrust rooted itself deep inside me. Every time I looked at her, a mix of love and resentment bubbled to the surface. Our laughter felt empty, like a balloon deflating. I needed answers. "Tell me the truth," I demanded, my voice shaky. But when she spoke, her words felt hollow, like promises made in the dark. Her tears didn't change anything. They couldn't wash away the hurt. I was furious with myself for staying in this painful mess. I wanted to scream, to make her see how much she'd hurt me. "You don't understand," I yelled, frustration bubbling over. I felt like a piece of me was disappearing in the chaos. The more I thought about what she'd done, the more my love twisted into something dark. I'd to face it. Love could hurt like nothing else. "Can we ever go back?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. But inside, I felt lost. The conflict raged on, draining me as I searched for clarity in a fog of confusion and pain. Feeling the sting of Emily's betrayal hit me like a punch in the gut. I'd to find a way to move on without her, even if the pain felt like a rock in my chest. I couldn't let it control me. I needed to grow and learn about myself again. First, I set some rules. No more late-night texts or pretending everything was okay. I needed to heal, so I grabbed a notebook and started journaling. Writing helped me spill all my thoughts and feelings onto the page. It felt like a release, like lifting, a heavy weight off my shoulders, but I knew I needed to let go of the anger too. I couldn't trust Emily anymore. That door was shut tight. I reached out to my friends and family. "I need you guys," I said. They were there for me, listening and giving me advice. They reminded me I wasn't alone on this tough road. Days passed, and I began to find bits of happiness again. I tried new things, like painting and hiking. I even started volunteering at the animal shelter. Each little step was a sign that life could still be good. Moving on didn't mean I'd to forget. It was about learning from what happened. I faced my feelings, straight on. I cried, I yelled, but I also started dreaming of a brighter future. The heartbreak turned into fuel for change. I felt stronger, ready to take on whatever life threw my way. I discovered strength in being vulnerable and found a new purpose. Once the truth crashed down, my world felt upside down. I stood at a crossroads, my heart heavy with betrayal. Emily, my wife, had lied, and everything we built was crumbling. I never thought I could feel this lost, but I'd to dig deep and find strength I didn't know I had. "How could you do this to me?" I shouted one night, my voice trembling. Emily's eyes were filled with guilt, but all I felt was anger and hurt. Days turned into a blur of confusion. Linda's words echoed in my head, and I replayed that moment over and over. I wanted to trust Emily again, but how could I? Every conversation was awkward, every glance a reminder of the pain. I knew I'd to take care of myself. I grabbed a notebook and started writing down everything, my thoughts, my feelings, my fears. It helped me sort through the chaos. I called my friends, needing their support. They listened, and slowly, I started to see that healing wouldn't happen overnight. As I faced this new reality, I realized I was in control. I could let this betrayal drag me down, or I could rise above it. I chose to fight back. I wanted my confidence back and needed to redefine my future. One evening, I confronted Emily again. "This ends now. I need honesty, or I can't stay." My voice was steady, but inside, I felt a storm brewing. Emily nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I promise, I'll do better. I love you." But would her words hold true, or were they just another way to trap me in her web of lies? Heartbreak hit me like a punch. I never expected betrayal from someone I trusted. "I thought we were happy," I shouted, my voice trembling. "How could you do this to me?" Trust was everything. It felt like the ground beneath me vanished when I found out. "You lied to me." I felt the anger bubbling inside, mixed with sadness and confusion. I had to face these feelings head on. Ignoring them wouldn't help. "Tell me why," I demanded, searching for answers. The silence was deafening. I had to confront the truth, no matter how painful. "This isn't love," I realized. I deserved honesty and respect, not manipulation and greed. Healing took time. I wanted to scream some days, while others felt like a fog. "Just take it one step at a time," I told myself. I focused on what made me happy, even if it was just a little thing. Every day, I felt stronger. Heartbreak left scars, but I was learning to rebuild. "I won't let this define me," I vowed. I wanted more than toxic love. I wanted something real, something I deserved. With each small victory, I learned more about myself. "No more lies," I promised as I moved forward. I stood at the door of my new life, my heart pounding with determination. The sting of betrayal from my wife still hurt, but I was ready to fight back. "This ends now," I whispered to myself. I had to let go of the past, even if it felt like a heavy weight on my chest. Taking a deep breath, I reminded myself that I was strong. "I won't be a victim," I said aloud. I imagined a future filled with honesty and trust, a future that didn't include her lies. I needed to surround myself with people who cared about me, not those who'd bring me down. Every day was a battle, but I welcomed the challenge. I laced up my running shoes and hit the pavement, finding peace in the rhythm of my feet. I called up friends who reminded me of my worth. "You've got this," they cheered, and I felt a spark of hope. But things weren't perfect. Late at night, shadows of doubt crept in. I thought about her lies and manipulation. "Why did I trust her?" I muttered. Each thought felt like a punch to my gut, but I wouldn't let it defeat me. "Let's go for a run," I told my friend Jake one Saturday. He grinned, and we raced through the park. "You're stronger than you think," he said, and I realized he was right. Each step forward was a small victory against the darkness that tried to consume me. I started to find joy in new hobbies. I painted, I jogged, and I laughed with friends. But then a text from my wife appeared on my phone. "I miss you." My heart raced. Should I reply? I felt the pull of old feelings, but I knew I'd to be strong. "No more," I told myself, hitting delete. I was building a life for myself, one that reflected who I wanted to be. I was a survivor, ready to embrace whatever came next. I could feel hope growing inside me, and I wasn't going to let anyone snuff it out. I was ready for this new beginning.